Hi, I'm Antonia from Embroidery Playground. Today, I'm going to show you how to make an unlined, in the hoop, ID holding zipper pouch and a lined zipper pouch as well. So stick around and see just how easy it is. And if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button for more embroidery and crafting videos to come. Alright, so we've got our supplies together. You're going to want to start with a 5x7 hoop with tearaway stabilizer. We're going to be doing the lined version today. So you will want 4 pieces of 5x6 inch material. I'm using all fabric this time. 2 for the lining and 2 for the outer part of the bag. A 4x4 piece of clear vinyl for the card slot. A 3-inch piece of ribbon and a swivel clip. The ribbon and the clip will be attached to the side of the bag, and the bag will end up looking like this, and it'll have a little pocket here on the side, or a little pocket on the front with an opening on the side for your business cards or ID or whatever you decide to put in there. So that's what we're going to work on today. So let's go ahead and get started. The first step will be the placement lines for your zipper. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch that first directly onto the stabilizer. Alright, so I'm going to move our supplies over here out of the way for just a minute. So you can see we have our stitch lines here, and I did use white thread, but you can see our placement lines. This will be for the main part of the bag, and then the zipper goes here in this skinny little rectangle. So that's what we're going to want to do now, is put our zipper directly onto into that box. So you want to place the zipper teeth right inside that line, right in the box. So get it lined up real good where that zipper is centered in there, and then go ahead and tape your zipper down. That way it does not shift. And we'll do it on both sides, and just make sure that you've got it lined up really well. And I will go ahead and stitch the tack down for the zipper. Alright, so I've got my zipper tacked down now, and I'm going to go ahead and start putting my fabric on. So I'm going to use the printed, do I want to? Yeah, I'm going to use the printed fabric for the inside. So it will go on the back of the hoop. And you'll put your lining, this will be the lining fabric, you'll put it right side down with the edge lined up with the bottom of the zipper. So just like that. And then make sure to tape it in place so it doesn't shift. And for added measure, I like to clip the lining directly to the stabilizer. Just like that. That way it keeps it out of the way, and I can just be sure that it is not going to get folded down on the bottom of my hoop. I reuse my tape, so it's becoming less sticky as I go. And then you got to want, and then you will want to flip your hoop back over to the front and do the same thing with your front material. Since I'm using fabric this time, you'll put it on at the same time you put the lining on. So right side down with the bottom, with the edge of the zipper, or excuse me, so then you will flip it back over. And since I'm using fabric, I want to go ahead and put my front fabric down as well on the front of the hoop with the raw edge lined up with the bottom of the zipper, right side down again. And we'll go ahead and secure that in place. I'm going to go ahead and take this to the machine, and it's going to stitch right across the bottom of the zipper, securing this piece and the lining together. Okay, so you can see we've got our stitch here. We secured our fabrics together. Now we're going to go ahead and flip the front down into place. And I like to create a little fold right here at the top and kind of finger press it to create a little seam there. And we're going to go back to the machine and stitch a tack down that will hold this piece of fabric in place. You do want to keep your lining up out of place. You do want to keep your lining up out of place for right now. So we'll put that down in a little bit, but for now, it's going to stay up out of the way, and we're just going to tack down this front fabric. Alright, so you can see here where I went ahead and tacked down this front fabric. Our lining is still up out of place, and we're going to go ahead and stitch the placement lines for a pocket. Alright, so we've got our placement lines stitched here. And now we're going to place our clear vinyl lined up with the open end of that rectangle. And we'll go ahead and tape this piece in place just to keep it from shifting. And we'll stitch that tack down, and it'll go around those three sides right over that placement line again. Alright, so we've got our clear vinyl taped down, or excuse me, tacked down. And we're going to go ahead and remove the tape and trim away the excess vinyl from around that tack down stitch. Alright, so we've got our vinyl trimmed up all the way to the stitch line here, as close as we could get without cutting our stitches. And now I'm going to go back to the machine and stitch a zigzag finishing stitch right around that three sides of that box. Alright, so we've got our finishing stitch around our card pocket. So now we're going to move this tape to the top. We're going to flip our hoop over and put our lining down into place. And I normally take that tape off before I stitch that, and I forgot, so it got stitched over. So we're just going to leave it right there, and it won't hurt anything. So we'll pull our lining down into place and secure it with tape. And stitch our next step, which will be a tack down to secure this in place. Alright, so we've got our lining tacked down into place, and I've went ahead and stitched the placement line for our ribbon loop. So I'm going to go ahead and get my ribbon loop and put the clip on it, just like this. And I put a piece of tape on it and lay it right on that placement line. So the little placement is right there. It's on that stitch line, and it's hard to tell, but it is there. And you'll know whenever you stitch it, you'll be able to see where it's at. So you put your clip towards the inside of the bag and then tape it down into place. Just like that. And we're going to go ahead and tack that down, and it's going to stitch right across that ribbon. Alright, so we've got our ribbon loop tacked down. Now we're going to open the zipper. And we're going to keep our tape on our zipper so it doesn't come open on the ends. So we'll keep that secured down just like that. And we're going to put our backing on first. And the backing, since we are doing the line file, this one is a little bit different. The backing will go down on top of the hoop, right side down, covering the entire design. You do want to secure that in place. And we'll go ahead and stitch the next step, which is a tack down that goes all the way around. Alright, so we've got our backing on. Now we're going to flip our hoop over and put our lining on. You will put the lining right side down, covering the entire design, just like that. And you do want to go ahead and secure it in place. And when this tacks down, it's going to go around most of the design. It will leave an opening at the bottom to be turned right side out. So it's going to go from here all the way around back to here. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch that final step now. Alright, so we've got our lining tacked down, and it did leave an opening back here. So we'll go ahead and take our tape off, get everything cleaned up, and get ready to take this out of the hoop and turn it right side out. I'm going to clean off all my excess stabilizer. And when it comes to trimming this, we're going to trim it a little bit differently than normal. So I'm going to go ahead and trim all of this around the zipper and the top of the bag first. Just so we can get all that stuff out of the way. All right. So when it comes to this opening, you want to leave a little extra down there to be able to trim off. And we don't need any of the outer fabric left. So what I'm going to do is hold my lining up out of the way while I go ahead and trim that outer fabric off. That by leaving that, it just adds to the bulk. And so we don't need all that extra material in there. That's not really necessary. And now for the opening, you want to leave a little extra to give it some room to turn in. So I'm going to go ahead and trim all the way to the edge of that opening, close to my bag, and then turn and go out. And we'll do the same thing on the other side by going back and then turn and go the rest of the way around. So I'm going to go ahead and trim up where I didn't get it real close before. So just like that. And that leaves our opening to be able to turn our bag right side out, right here in between those lining fabrics. So our outer fabric is completely sealed, but our lining is open. So now what we're going to do, we want to turn it through that little opening. And this is why I like using the unlined file, is because for me it's a little bit tough to turn through those little openings, but it can be done. So I used fabric for this one to make it a little bit easier on myself, so I don't have that bulk of vinyl trying to turn through there, but even that's possible. So we'll turn it right side out. Actually, we're turning it inside out, because now our lining is on the outside. So we will be turning it again, but for now, we've got some more work to do in here. So I do have some tails. My machine leaves all kinds of tails. So I do have some tails and some stray threads that I want to clean up. And we want to clean our stabilizer from our zipper path. I like to scratch it with my scissors to get it started so I can peel it away easier. Okay. So I've got my stabilizer cleaned up. And now we are going to turn our lining in to that little hole. And this is where you would go ahead and secure it closed. And I just use glue. I use tacky glue. And I just put just a little bit of glue right inside that seam. Get my glue started here. I just put a little bit of glue right there in that seam. And then put my fabric, get my fabric good and lined up. I got a little heavy on the glue, but it's okay. So I just get my glue in place and I'll stitch it, or excuse me, seal it closed with the glue, and then I'll put some clips on it to kind of hold it closed until that glue dries. That way it's nice and secure. It'll get a good seal on it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and let that dry for just a minute. Alright, that's probably good. So our zipper, or our opening is sealed. And now we've got to turn our bag right side out. So it's still inside out. We need to reach in here and open our zipper the rest of the way so we can turn our bag the right side out. I do still have another piece of tape on the inside holding that clip down. So we'll go ahead and take that off. And I'm going to use a pair of closed scissors to kind of poke out my corners. Just like that. And see, this bag is completely lined, so there's no exposed seam showing. On the inside, down at the bottom, is where we actually closed it up with the glue. And you can't even tell. So there is our cute little bag, all complete. All right, so what did y'all think? So we did a lined and an unlined version. I hope that this was easy for you. I hope that you understand exactly how I put these together. I'm never quite sure that my instructions come across clearly, but I hope that they did, and I hope it helps you. If you decide to stitch these out, you can find the designs at embroideryplayground.me. It does include the lined and unlined version, so you can make them in fabric or in vinyl. Either one. The possibilities of customizations are endless, so you can use the ribbon, you can use zipper tape, you can do it however you want to. There's so many different ways that you can adapt these to suit your own needs.